France President Emmanuel Macron began his two-day official visit to Nigeria with a meeting with Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari. Both leaders held bilateral talks at the presidential villa in Abuja. The meeting focused on issues relating to security, economy, and relations between both countries. They briefed reporters after the meeting.
France President Emmanuel Macron arrives at the presidential villa in the first leg of his official visit to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He is here to hold bilateral talks with his Nigerian counterpart, Muhammadu Buhari. After a closed-door meeting, both leaders emerged to brief reporters on what they discussed.
For Nigeria, what I personally emphasize is the inter-basin transfer of Lake Chad and the Sahel security. What France is doing, we all know, in trying to stabilize the region, especially in dealing with G5. In our own case, you can all recall when I came to this office, my first port of call was Chad, Niger, Cameroon, and Benin. Our neighbors that happen to be former French colonies. This makes a lot of sense. The best thing is to develop good relationship with your neighbors. It will cost you less in terms of material needed for development. And in this respect, I'm very grateful to France for the support we have been getting.
Macron begins his own address by emphasizing on security. He restated his commitment to supporting Nigeria's fight against Boko Haram in the area of intelligence.
Our bilateral relation is obviously framed by security issues. We discussed with Mr. President about our common fight against Boko Haram and the current war. I reaffirmed the French commitment alongside with you and our willingness to contribute to your efforts in terms of intelligence, but as well specific contribution you would request. Our willingness to help the four countries working together against Boko Haram. You know our strong commitment and our presence in Sahel, and we discussed with Mr. President about our willingness as well to better coordinate these two common efforts against terrorism. We want as well to be more present in terms of stabilization in North and Northeast. That's why we decided to invest $75 million in stabilization in this region through the French Agency for Development.
Macron, however, insists that terrorism in Africa can only be dealt with through a joint effort from African leaders and not through external sources.
The main plan is an African plan. And France is not the one to solve or fix African situations. I mean, this is a past period. So what we want to do, we intervene and we are still present in Africa and Sahel to fight against terrorism, especially in Mali and in the region. And we will stay as long as it is requested by our friends, and especially Mali, and we discussed yesterday about this issue. But what's important to me is how the African governments in different African countries organize themselves to fight against terrorism and get rid of these people.
On the issue of economy, Macron pledged that France will be more involved in Nigeria, especially in the area of digitalization.
I want France to be much more present for small and medium enterprises and in different sectors like digital. We launched Digital Africa, which is now a great initiative allowing entrepreneurship to accelerate, to develop themselves, because it provides new opportunities to young people. And that's the best way as well to provide jobs, obviously, and an actual growth, inclusive growth for our people. I want Digital Africa to be obviously much more present in Nigeria, but I want as well our leaders, our business leaders, working much more together.
He also pledged support to Nigeria's creative sector.
I want us together to develop a much more important relation on culture and sport. I think it's not something marginal. And we probably underestimated during the past years the importance, especially for our young people, of culture and sport. I delivered a speech a few months ago in Ouagadougou saying how the cultural relation between France and key countries in Africa were, for me, very important. And in a new way to proceed, in a new mood, I would say, i.e. promoting much more the African culture, speaking for itself and promoting itself.
Since his election in 2017, Macron has stepped up efforts to improve relations between France and African countries. He had previously visited Mauritania, Ivory Coast and Burkina Faso, and was also the first French president to visit Ghana before his trip to Nigeria. Fidelia Aguncha, TV360, Lagos, Nigeria.